InvestorIdeas.com podcast.
Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of InvestorIdeas.com podcasts. Today's podcast is sponsored by Phyto Extractions Incorporated, trading on the CSE as XTRX, which is an agricultural scale cannabis extraction, distillation, and product manufacturer located in Langley, BC, at its co-located Health Canada licensed standard processing facility. Standard processing for extraction, not cultivation, and sales of extracts, topicals, and edibles through Ad Astra Labs Incorporated and Analytical Testing Laboratory through Chemia Analytics Incorporated. In today's podcast, we're going to be looking at a few public company announcements from HEXO Corporation, trading on the TSX and the New York Stock Exchange as HEXO, the VLNS Company Incorporated, trading on the TSX as VLNS and the OTCQX as VLNCF, Canopy Growth Corporation, trading on the TSX as Weed and the NASDAQ as CGC, as well as Fire and Flower Holdings Corporation, trading on the TSX as FAF and the OTCQX as FFLWF. But first, before we get into that, New Frontier Data, the authority in data analytics and business intelligence in the global cannabis industry, in partnership with Mantis Ad Network, a leading advertising network dedicated to the legal cannabis industry, recently just released its latest industry report, the 2021 U.S. Cannabis Consumer Evolution, Archetypes, Preferences, and Behaviors. Now, the report delivers New Frontier Data's third edition of in-depth and comprehensive analysis of cannabis consumption and purchasing habits layered over hundreds of millions of social and demographic data points to guide and empower brands, operators, advertisers, and investors looking to activate, monetize, and capitalize on the emerging market's explosive growth. Now, presenting a much-anticipated new set of cannabis consumer benchmarks, the study redefines cannabis consumer behavior in the U.S. at an inflection point in the global industry's growth to present the 10 most critical cannabis consumer profiles that brands and advertisers need to understand to best engage with the evolving and expanding cannabis consumer group. The cannabis consumer as a new target demographic is now an attractive and lucrative consumer group that FMCPG brands from fast food to lifestyle are not just interested in, but actually need to connect and engage with as a critical growth and competitive planning variable, noted New Frontier Data founder and executive chair Glada A. Dekarsar. Now, our data collection and research almost after a decade delivers actionable intelligence to activate this booming market. And as the nexus of global cannabis data delivering trusted, reliable, unbiased reporting, we embrace symbiotic relationships with reputable and responsible data partners worldwide. Now, some of the key findings of the report included some information on medical versus adult use. So, for instance, 42% of consumers self-identify as primarily or exclusively medical, while 58% identify as recreational. Goes into flower versus non-flower preferences, purchasing habits, etc. And supplementing this report, New Frontier Data will conduct a free industry briefing on Thursday, April 29th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You can register with the link attached in the article, and there's also a free copy of the 2021 U.S. Cannabis Consumer Evolution, Archetypes, Preferences, and Behaviors report, which can be downloaded again in the link attached in the article, or visit newfrontierdata.com. When you're looking over this, in general, it's not giving any insight that's really too surprising, just giving a lot more data points to obviously sort of back up a lot of the current trends that a lot of people and most companies are already very aware of, which is sort of the shifting of overall consumer purchasing trends in the U.S., slowly catching up in Canada, but much more so dramatically being realized in the U.S. when you're seeing a move away from traditional dry herb. Even pre-rolls are actually beginning to start to lose a little bit of market segment towards your extracts and towards beverages and edibles. And that really is just because, again, you're starting to see the beverage and edibles section really figure its shit out and have much better quality products, much better quality of dosing, and a lot more consistency of their brands. You're also starting to see a lot more accessibility to those types of products. And the same thing could be said for your shatter, your extracts. Live resin, very specifically, is becoming sort of the main go-to for a lot of people for their cannabis extracts portions. You saw a lot more focus on shatter and hash early on. Now, again, you're starting to see the move towards live resin as consumers become more educated on what cannabis products they're looking for. And also, again, as the price points continue to drop and you have more product SKUs available for purchase. But definitely worth checking out. So first, going into Trust Beverages Corporation, the joint venture of Molson Coors Canada and HEXO Corporation, who is making another splash in the beverage category, speaking of beverages, with the introduction of 6 new products to its existing brand offering. Now, the 6 new products will be rolling out to retailers over the next few months and arriving just in time for summer, the largest adult use beverage season of the year. And while cannabis beverages were in their infancy in the summer of 2020, the arrival of new flavors continues a year of category-defining product development for Truss, as well as other beverage companies. Now, with awareness of the category at an all-time amongst potential cannabis consumers, 87%, Truss expects Canadians to embrace cannabis beverages throughout the summer of 2021 and beyond. 8 months ago, we launched the largest and most diverse portfolio of cannabis beverages in the industry, and today we're back adding a whole new lineup of innovation and increasing our offering in Canada by an additional 50%, said Scott Cooper, President and CEO of Truss Beverage Corporation. Now, with summer approaching, the biggest adult use market of the year, this is great news for legal age consumers. Proudly made in Belleville, Ontario, the new CBD and THC products are full of flavors inspired by the approaching summer season. So you have House of Terpenes, Valencine, and Sparkling Tonic, XMG Citrus and XMG Watermelon, Very Well Honey Green Iced Tea, Little Victory Lemonade, as well as Molly 5 Lime. Now, we're dedicated with the reception of the portfolio to date, said Scott. We've sold over 2 million units and took leadership in the category in early 2021 with a 43% market share. And the category shows no signs of slowing down as we expect to continue to evolve and grow well into the remainder of 2021. Now, since the legalization of Cannabis 2.0 products, cannabis beverages have become a welcome option for customers. By offering both consistency and an alternative way to consume cannabis, 44% of current legal-age Canadian cannabis consumers say they will buy beverages in addition to other cannabis products, and 35% consume cannabis beverages because it means they don't have to smoke. This summer season is a huge buying opportunity for the cannabis beverage category, said Lori Hatcher, head of marketing at Truss Beverage Co. We've worked in close collaboration with our community of consumers and bud tenders to bring together a selection of fresh new beverages made with natural flavors that are perfect for those outdoor summer occasions. And we're so excited to bring these to market over the coming months and to see the reception from consumers as they continue to navigate this fast-evolving category. So you can check out more of their product lineup at trustbeverages.com. If you haven't paid attention to some of the Truss beverages that are already out on the market in the Canadian recreational space, they do quite well. Big difference has been the flavor quality. When you're looking at a lot of the other beverages that are out there, everyone is focusing on the same sort of health aspects. A lot of the beverages that you're seeing within the Canadian recreational space, at least, really focused on no sugar, no calories, vegan, gluten-free, etc., and very all-natural flavors. The downside with that, similarly to what you've seen just with sparkling beverages, even in the alcohol section of the beverage category, is that a lot of people fuck up those flavors when they're dealing with natural components. Too light on the flavor, too harsh on the flavor, etc., not combining the right flavors to make a good recipe. So I have found personally that the Truss beverages are really, really consistent with their flavors, a lot brighter and a lot better tasting than some of their competitors on the market. Also, their bottle format is much more preferred, just the standard sort of pop top. And it'll be interesting to see how beverages in all, not just specifically Truss beverages, do over the next year. Again, the biggest difficulty that's still holding back that segment of the market is the dosage limit. And there's no way around that anytime soon. That's still probably another year to 2 years away before there's going to be any adjustment to dosage regulations within the Canadian recreational space. That is anticipated at some point, as 10 milligrams for the average consumption level is ridiculous. Eventually, they will be allowing for different elements of that. But for right now, that is going to be the only thing really slowing down the mass adoption of cannabis beverages in the near term. That being said, also the fact that you're going to have a lot of these COVID restrictions in most of Canada this summer, it looks like going into May, potentially into June, where you're only going to have outdoor dining options. So most people are just going to be out and about anyways. So a lot of these cannabis beverages, because they are a low dose, actually could be a benefit for at least this year and going into the next, as people will feel more confident consuming those beverages at a lower dosage point than they would, for instance, if they went up to 100 to 200 milligrams. I do expect it's going to probably cap out closer towards 500 milligrams is where you're going to see sort of your limits eventually. That's what you've seen in a lot of the U.S. evolved markets so far. There is a few things that go up to about 1,000 milligrams, but I don't think that that's going to be the norm when you're looking at the beverage category overall. And potentially you could see, again, just because there isn't really any specific laws pertaining to cannabis consumption through beverages outside. It'll be interesting to see if maybe a bunch of people do switch over to that as their standard consumption form instead of alcoholic beverages over this summer, as again, you are going to have so many people, at least in the Canadian market, who are going to be out and about and thirsty and looking to get maybe mildly inebriated or intoxicated. And these cannabis beverages could be an alternative to sort of your beer and sparkling alcoholic beverages, which is what they've really been dominating the market with so far. Is a lot of people who are trying to limit their alcohol consumption are turning to cannabis beverages, as they are a lot healthier when it comes to calories, sugar, etc., and B, and actually do have some impact on overall addiction to alcohol and as a nice substitute. So definitely pay attention to the overall beverage market in Canada this year, and Trust Beverages looks to be well ahead of the game. Moving on to VLNS Company, who announced the launch of their Nuance CBD bath bombs. Now, the bath bombs will join Nuance's lineup of premium wellness products developed with trusted ingredients and designed to provide consumers customizable self-care experiences. Now, each Nuance bath bomb is crafted with an all-natural plant-derived essential oils and infused with 100 milligrams of pure CBD, designed for ready-to-use self-care at home, and consumers can simply drop the CBD bath bomb in warm bath water, relax, and take an aromatic scents. Currently, the largest bath bombs available in the Canadian recreational market with 2 minutes of fizz, and the products are offered in 2 formats, soothing eucalyptus as well as revitalizing grapefruit. We're thrilled to introduce nuanced bath bombs to the market when now more than ever we're looking for new and innovative ways to indulge the in-home self-care, said Tyler Robson, CEO and co-founder of chair of the VLNS Company. Now, these products represent the first VLNS manufactured topicals in the market, created with the same commitment to excellence and quality as our other leading products in various next-generation categories. And we look forward to introducing a variety of innovative and highly customizable products exclusive to the wellness category in collaboration with our partners over the course of 2021. Now, additional Nuance wellness products are expected to launch in the coming quarters, including balm, menthol rub, soft chews, and honey. And this also includes a new variety of bath bombs, such as 1-to-1 CBD to THC artisanal mini bath bombs, 4-pack pairing of 2 classic complementary scents, which can be used individually or in a combination for a highly customizable experience. So VLNS being able to launch their bath bombs, looking into more topical products. Still a very underserved category when you're looking at the Canadian recreational space. You're still not seeing a lot of topicals and very few CBD products that are available. A lot of what you're seeing is just mainly CBD distillate as well as CBD oils. You are starting to see at least a few more CBD beverages pop up, but again, your dosage level is going to be sort of the deterring factor there. And I do think that there's still a massive growing demand for topicals, for these sort of next generation CBD and wellness products, at least in the Canadian market. Again, not as much of a difficulty finding those types of products in the US. It is difficult finding products that are consistent and actually do contain the amount of CBD that they're advertising. That is a big issue in the US because it is still so unregulated and because so many people are still importing CBD isolate from China, full of heavy particulates and metals, and usually not providing sort of the wellness results that people are looking for from their CBD products. Again, I've talked many times about full spectrum and partial spectrum products. I don't believe that will be an issue with the VLNS products. They have been focusing on that since the get-go. And hopefully you will see a bunch more of these, again, wellness and CBD focused sort of salves and bath bombs, etc., coming onto the market later this year. That is a really, again, still underserved area of this cannabis industry. And there still are a lot of products that are in the pipeline from a variety of companies that are still waiting to be launched. And hopefully we'll see more of that this year, similarly to what we're seeing with the beverages. Looking next at Canopy Growth Corporation, who announced the launch of Vert, the company's first Quebec exclusive brand. Now, the first 2 strains to launch on the new Vert brand are Green Kush and Sour Kush, which will be sold via the Société Québécoise de Cannabis, or the SQDC, in dried flower and pre-rolled joint formats. And Vert Green Crush is a sativa-dominant strain, and Sour Kush is an indica. Now, at Cannabis Growth, we understand the importance of providing the Quebec market with a regionally exclusive brand, said Kelly Olson, Vice President of Global Flower Business at Cannabis Growth. Vert Cannabis is grown by the experienced community of Quebecois cultivators, and we're excited to bring a new offering of local cannabis flower to the SQDC shelves. Now, Vert Green Kush and Sour Kush are cultivated at Vert Mirabel, which is a fully licensed high-tech greenhouse located in Mirabel, Quebec, that's jointly owned by Cannabis Growth and partner Les Serres Stéphane Bertrand Incorporated, which is a multi-generational greenhouse operated in the province. Vert Mirabel is one of Cannabis Growth's primary cannabis cultivation facilities and plays a role in providing locally grown cannabis for the Quebec market, cementing the company's production footprint in the province. The operation of our Vert Mirabel facility is guided by a team of incredibly passionate growers that are dedicated to bringing locally grown cannabis to Quebec, said Sylvain Morin, director of Vert Mirabel. This product is truly a fusion of cannabis expertise with the Vert Mirabel team's multi-generational knowledge in greenhouse operations. So we've seen a lot of this over the last year or so, is a lot of companies, not just Cannabis Growth, focusing on launching specific brands to specific provinces. You've seen a lot of this in Quebec over the last couple of months. There's a lot of focus on that. There was a lot of focus on BC going back towards a year ago. You're seeing pretty consistent brand launches in BC, not as many in Ontario that are Ontario specific, and a few more now in Quebec. Again, when you're looking at the dry flower market in general, I will say that I don't know about the success specifically of these Vert Green Crush and Sour Kush cultivars they're going to be launching in the Quebec market, as they're not really the rarest cultivars that are out there. And I have mentioned this several times, that what you're seeing in the dry flower category is a movement towards really niche specific cultivars and really rare strains, and then bulk product. So depending on the formats they're selling this in, I'm sure the pre-rolls will probably do well if they're properly priced for that market. And if they do have larger formats, for instance, half ounce and ounce portions of these products as well, that could be successful depending on the price points that they're aiming at. But if they're planning on just launching, smaller formats of this product, and it's not in that either high end or low end price category, again, a lot of the medium end product for price point is sitting on shelves for quite a while, and you're not seeing the aggressive sales that you did in the beginning, as a lot of those mid-level prices are now moving towards people buying extracts and second-generation products. Again, if people are looking for really high-end flower and are willing to spend a decent amount of money on flower, they're usually going towards, again, those more rare strains. And, I mean, there is the benefit of this being a locally sourced strain, so potentially they could get a sort of good initial sales, just because, again, you are seeing a focus, no matter which province you're in, towards locally cultivated cannabis. Again, BC craft grown in BC is being sold very well in BC. The same is being said in other provinces as well. Same thing in Quebec. You are seeing a very consistent demand for craft cultivators coming from Quebec. But again, depending on the strains you're going to be cultivating, depending on the price points you're aiming at, and depending on the product formats that you're offering. So interesting to pay attention to how Vert Green does versus some of the other Quebec-only focused brands within that market. I do think in general you'll probably see this brand do well for the first while. It'll just be dependent on, again, a couple of those pricing factors and format factors moving forward of how it's going to compete overall in the Quebec space. Lastly, today, looking at Fire and Flower Holdings Corporation, who announced with artist Emer Ukulele and Angry Butterfly creating an original piece of digital art using non-fungible token or NFT technology. The piece is titled Non-Fungible Toke, in playful reference to 420, the annual celebration for cannabis enthusiasts, on April 20th. Now, Fire and Flower is leading digital innovation in the cannabis industry, including the first non-fungible toke, says Lisa Markowicz, the Vice President of Marketing of Fire and Flower. Now, customer connection is part of our brand DNA, which is why we strive to develop creative ways to engage with our community. Now, the digital artwork is a looping billow of multicolored smoke encased in glass, similar to a display case found in an art gallery or museum. The bidding will start at 4:20 today on Rarible and close on April 20th at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, all proceeds from the sale will be donated to the Second Harvest, which is the largest food rescue charity in Canada, and less to purchase a carbon offset and help neutralize the carbon footprint of blockchain technology. And as a new agency, we like using new technology and new design tools, said Aaron Kowalczyk, the partner of CCO of Angry Butterfly. But the goal is always to combine innovation with an element of playfulness, which we think this NFT represents. We're lucky to have clients with the same mindset. Now, the highest bidder of the NF token will have ownership of the digital artwork, and it cannot be replaced or reproduced due to the Ethereum blockchain network that supports it. So obviously I've talked a lot about Fire and Flower Holdings Corporation before, about how they are very technology driven, definitely at the forefront of the technology side of cannabis retail when you're looking at the Canadian market and even at the global market. Again, I do not see really any other companies that are focusing as aggressively on having a very much a technology focused retail experience as Fire and Flower Holdings Corporation. They were one of the first companies to be launching their perks programs, launching their online store, having curbside pickup delivery well before COVID policies were put into place and mandatory. And they were a company very much focused on having this entire sort of digital interaction with their consumers right out of the get-go. So using an NFT is very on brand for them right now. It'll be interesting to see what kind of traction they get for that. And really, again, when you're looking at the overall retail space, whether you're looking at specifically in Canada or globally, Fire and Flower Holdings Corporation is definitely a company to pay attention to as far as a very next generation experience for cannabis consumption and cannabis retail. They are at the sort of forefront of that, and again, I would expect them to continue to be as they're doing publicity and sort of advertising and marketing designs, like working with NFT technology, as it is kind of at peak hype right now within the crypto and blockchain space. So very much a timely choice, both for 420 as well as, again, for the hype surrounding NFT technology at this point. And it'll be interesting to see, again, how sort of the overall cannabis retail develops over the next few years and where Fire and Flower Holdings Corporation sort of business design fits into that retail space, whether they will be sort of at the cutting edge or the front of the line, or whether a lot of these focuses on technology are sort of overkill at this point. I do expect that not really. When you're looking at them as a company, they have done really well in most of the markets they're in. They've dominated the retail space quite aggressively. They are looking at expanding into the U.S. And in general, their business model has paid off very well for them, especially with COVID restrictions. So definitely a company worth paying attention to, and especially their 420 NFT and how that gets picked up in the industry overall. That's all for today's podcast. And once again, today's podcast was sponsored by Phyto Extractions Incorporated, trading on the CSE as XTRX, an agricultural scale cannabis extraction, distillation, and product manufacturer located in Langley, BC. At its co-located Health Canada licensed standard processing for extraction, not cultivation, sales, extracts, topicals, and edibles through Ad Astra Labs Incorporated, an analytical testing laboratory through Chemia Analytics Incorporated. That's all for today's podcast. Podcast is now a certified word trademark on the blockchain through Cognate Incorporated CM certification. InvestorIdeas.com podcasts are also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and TuneIn. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor of this podcast, please contact InvestorIdeas.com. Investor Ideas reminds all listeners to read our disclaimers and disclosures on the InvestorIdeas.com website, and this podcast is not an endorsement to buy products or services or securities. Investors are reminded that all investments involve risk and possible loss of investment. Investor Ideas does not condone the use of cannabis except where permissible by law. Our site does not possess, distribute, or sell cannabis products.